Hey guys, so we're going to be doing this video on the phone for Daniel 3. I finally found my charger, got my laptop up, it needs updates. So I'm letting it update and I'm gonna go through and get everything set up so so we can jump right into on the next chapter, because the next chapter we get into the second dream. We're gonna start getting into more details here from this point on as we go, especially when we get to Daniel 7. And so I want to be able to dig deeper into those things. And so I just want to make sure that that laptop's good to go. I haven't run it in a while, so I need to make sure it's got everything it needs. But on that one, I have certain programs uploaded that I'll be able to film full screen, and we'll be able to go into the PC version of eSword to be able to get into some super good details about this. But this chapter we should be pretty good, because this is just the image of gold. This is the one we covered here, a month ago in one of the devotions about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego getting thrown into the furnace. So not too much here as far as getting into prophecy stuff, but we're safe doing it on the phone. It is going to be after chapter 4 when I really want to make sure I got the computer set up. And I got a new microphone and stuff like that. So I'm going to make sure everything's set up the right way. And then test it to make sure we're not going to have any problems. Okay, so today will be Daniel 3, the image of gold. Now, if you guys remember from, I think it was like a month ago, maybe a little over a month, we covered this chapter in a devotion. And it's pretty interesting what happened here. And there's some interesting details in this chapter about the particular events that went on here. And it gives you an example from the Old Testament how we are to stand for truth and stand for what we know is right and stand for God. The image of God, image of gold, sorry. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. So if it's 60 cubits, let's pause here for a minute. Let's see. So a cubit is right around 18 inches. So 18 inches times 60 cubits. So it was like 1,080 feet tall. It's a big, roughly. That's a big statue. That's a very big statue. Or 1,080 inches. Yeah, pretty stout. I mean, this was a lot. It was a gold statue. This was a lot. It just goes to show you how rich he was. And King Nebuchadnezzar sent word to gather together the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the province, basically all the government, to come to the dedication of the image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. So the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces gathered together for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then a herald cried aloud, "To you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages." Now, I want you to watch close here, because technically this is a situation where Satan was trying to become worshipped, and he was doing it through Nebuchadnezzar. This particular scenario that has just been put forth is very similar to when Jesus reigns for 1,000 years, and all nations will go and pay homage every year. See how history repeats itself? Now, funny enough, Satan tries to do this again at the midway point of the tribulation. He tries to do the same thing. He puts up an image and he makes it talk, so that people will wonder after it. See, Satan tried it back then, and it didn't work. He's going to try it again. Actually, he's tried it several times since. He's going to try it again in the tribulation. But ultimately, the ultimate fulfillment of this, when it will be done properly, is going to be in the millennial reign, when Jesus does it, and all nations, all provinces, all peoples, all everything come and pay homage to him. This time it will be no graven image. It will be the actual Lord. Then the herald cried aloud, "To you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery, in symphony with all kinds of music, you shall fall down and worship the gold image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace." So that would mean they would probably be keeping this furnace burning. So at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the horn, flute, harp, and lyre and symphony, with all kinds of music, all the peoples, nations, and languages fell down and worshipped and put their masks on and got their vaccine. The gold image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. I threw that in there because we saw it in our time. We literally just witnessed the very same thing happening. Just didn't look the same as this, but it was very much the same mentality. So you can see what's going on here. You can see what they're attempting to do. And we see real life and real time. In fact, it's just the last couple of years. It's happening now. Same scenario unfolding. Satan's trying to be worshipped. And he's looking for any way he can possibly do it. If he can't be worshipped, he will do everything he can to distract others from worshiping God. If he can't get you to worship him, he's going to try to get you to not worship God. Well, forget that mess. I'm going to worship God. Just wait. He's gonna try some more tricks, but that's okay. He still loses, and he knows he does because he knows what his future is. So all the people are like, okay, cool. We'll just do what we're told to do. Therefore, at that time, certain Chaldeans came forward and accused the Jews. They spoke and said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery in symphony with all kinds of music," and there's a reason why the Lord made it clear to list all of those instruments. Why couldn't he just shorten that? He listed all those instruments on purpose. There's going to come a future time when this is going to play key, and it'll be during the tribulation. So he's making sure to repeat this so people get it. In symphony with all kinds of music, shall fall down and worship the gold image. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. I very much believe that this is going to be the same scenario that will happen at the midway point of the tribulation. You will fall down and worship me, and it'll be because this music sounds, and everybody's going to stop what they're doing and worship. There are certain Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not paid due regard to you. They do not serve your gods, notice he says gods, or worship the gold image which you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and fury, gave the command to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the gold image which I have set up?" Now, we already read in previous chapters, he already knew they didn't serve his God. He knew that they served the God of the Jews. He knew that. Why is he asking this question? It's kind of self-defeating, don't you think? It's for a purpose. Verse 15, "Now, if you are ready at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery in symphony with all kinds of music, and you fall down and worship the image which I have made, good. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hands?" He's testing them. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter." Because he already knows. And they knew he already knew. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up. They're being very direct. No, I will not take your vaccine. I will not serve your God. No, I will not no, I will not serve your God. We will not do it. We will not worship your gold image. Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the expression on his face changed toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He spoke and commanded that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. Researchers and people who have studied this said this was anywhere from 1 to 7,000 degrees. They had this thing so hot that I mean, it was probably a surprise that the clay was holding together. You think it would burn that up. And it was hot, hot, hot. I mean, you don't even need to go over 1,000 degrees. 1,000 degrees is enough to vaporize most things. Just burns it right up like it's nothing. I mean, it would be coming out of the front of that thing like a blowtorch. So it's hot, real hot. I mean, it only takes what? It only takes 500 degrees to make a piece of steel red hot. 600, between 6 and 750 to start melting it. So 1,000 is going to turn into liquid within just a couple of seconds. Verse 20, and he commanded certain mighty men of valor who were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans. They were tied up in their clothes. Their clothes are going to aid in burning them. And their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So, as they were walking up to the oven to shove these guys in, it killed the guards. Since they were behind them, pushing them, shouldn't it have killed the other guys first? Nope. The flame, the fire, the heat actually went through them and killed the guys pushing them in. And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace so they could see. They could see it in there. Here's what's funny is, and this is another example of the Lord in the Old Testament, verse 24, then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, and he rose in haste and spoke, saying to his counselors, did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They all watched it. Everybody was watching it. They answered and said to the king, true, O king. Look, he answered, I see 4 men loose walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. How is it possible, if Jesus didn't show up in the Old Testament, that Nebuchadnezzar sees him and recognizes him? How is it possible that he recognizes Jesus at all? And yet he does. And names him specifically, the Son of God. Amazing. Jesus was in that oven with him. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? So what is this an example of? Why would this be so important? Well, first of all, it's Christ appearing in the Old Testament. Second of all, it's the showing of God's providence to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And thirdly, it shows you Jesus will be with you through your fiery trials because he was with them through their fiery trials. So you're not by yourself in your troubles. Jesus will be with you in the fiery furnace. There he is right there. It's an example. Little details make a big difference. Verse 26, then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spoke. That was dangerous because it just killed the other guys. Saying, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God. He saw Jesus and it changed him. Servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire. I guarantee you they didn't do it because he said it. They did it because Jesus was like, go ahead, guys. I imagine they were having a little meeting in there. Verse 27, and the satraps, administrators, governors, and king's counselors gathered together, and they saw these men on whose bodies the fire had no power. The hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments affected, and the smell of fire was not on them. They didn't even smell like smoke. The little stray threads that were hanging off the things were still there. Didn't even burn that up. Didn't touch them. They walked out of a fire that killed the other men that put them in there. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel. See, even the writers of the Bible knew that was Jesus. Sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him. And they have frustrated the king's word and yielded their bodies that they should not serve nor worship any god except their own God. That is an example of integrity, by the way. Therefore, I make a decree that any people, nation, or language which speaks anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made an ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver like this. He just admitted that even his gods couldn't deliver like that. Verse 30, and the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. So look what the Lord did. The Lord said, hey guys, going to be some issues. Y'all know who this guy is, but you know who you serve, and you know I will be with you. We do, Lord. He's going to try to make you worship an image of him. Don't do it. Okay, Lord. And so they stood their ground. Nebuchadnezzar, we will not do it. Okay, you get to go in the fire, because that's the decree I made. Okay, we'll see if he delivers you from it. But he's either going to deliver us or he's going to save us. One way or another, we still win. What happens? Boom, throws him in there. Then what happens? Everybody gets to see something incredible. Wait a minute. Is that Jesus? He's in there. Hey guys, come out. And they just walk on out like it's nothing. Big old ball of flame shooting out of the thing. They just walk out like it's nothing. Guys, no God can do what your God can do. So while they're in there, Jesus is probably saying, okay, now look, he's going to freak out. Don't worry. But he's going to change because of this. He's going to change. You guys being spared this death, because they could have just as easily taken him home. You guys being spared this death, don't worry. I'm going to make sure you prosper here, just like I'm going to make sure Daniel prospers here, because I'm going to make sure that the king sees the value of having you guys who worship me here. He's going to promote you and he's going to make your life better. Don't worry. I'll take care of you in your exile. And what happened? They get promoted. They get raised up to some of the highest positions, provided for, wealthy beyond their imagination, I would imagine. I mean, they had access to everything, literally. And were trusted. Why is that? Integrity. Nebuchadnezzar saw the value of having people who were Christians. Of course, these were before Christians, but having those that served the true God. And their upper echelon. How many businesses see that same value? Because they know they can trust that person. They know that they can rely on that person. They know that person won't try to steal from them or take advantage of them. And this is in every life. Whenever people meet true believers, they know they can trust them. I know I can trust you, because they get a sense of it when they're near you. They get a sense of this. They don't know how that is. They don't know why that is, but they can tell. They know. I've had people address me directly saying this. I can tell you're spiritual. I can tell you're a spiritual person. I can tell that you believe in God. But not like these fakers. I had somebody literally tell me this. Not too long ago either. Just last year. Not these other fakers you see out there in the world. You're a genuine believer of God. I had a non-believer tell me this in a friend of mine's house. He says, that's not for me, but I can tell this is definitely for you. I'm aware of those kind of things. I can tell that this is something that you need to be this way. This is for you specifically. This isn't for me. So I don't know if what he was saying was he knew he was going to hell or not. I don't know. Maybe the Lord will get him later. I don't know. Amazing. People can tell who you are, even if they're not a believer. Nebuchadnezzar recognized Jesus Christ, even though he didn't know him. Amazing. That's amazing. There's a lot to learn from this book. I've been putting off the book of Daniel for a long time because there's so much here, and I'm not going to be able to cover it all. Obviously, there's just too much. Nobody else can either. In fact, most of the book of Daniel, most people still don't understand to this day, even those that are theologians, because they're still struggling to figure out what this stuff means. Well, we're going to try to cover some very interesting details that I've discovered in here, but not because of me, because the Lord showed it to me. It's very interesting little tidbits of information that tell us it's very interesting stories about some events happening today. And I think the timing is perfect that we're covering this now, because there are a couple of very specific prophecies in the book of Daniel that are being fulfilled as we speak, and we can see the evidence of it. And we're going to get into that. We're also going to prove a couple of false doctrines wrong as we get into the nitty-gritty of this, the meat and potatoes. We're going to prove a couple of false doctrines wrong, because we're going to use Scripture to show what it actually says instead of what they are telling people. And we'll get into that in future videos. Guys, that was Daniel 3. Thank you for watching. Again, this is going to be once a week. Hopefully, this next one I'll have the laptop ready, and we'll be good to go there, and be able to get into some deeper content. And be able to go, because when we get into the more detailed stuff, I'm going to be able to go into other, look stuff up. Like I did the math there for that statue. That was a big statue. But we're going to dig into deeper details and look at other sources. So keep your eye out for that. And we'll get there when we get there. We'll see where the Lord leads. Love you all, and I thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.